You will stay away from my crew. I will finish my picture.
This is hardly your picture any longer.
Willem Dafoe has played some of the most diverse roles of any actor of our time. In Martin Scorsese's Last Temptation of Christ, he was Jesus Christ. In The English Patient, he was a mercenary outlaw. And in Platoon, he played a sergeant, for which he was nominated for an Academy Award. In his latest film, Shadow of the Vampire, he has taken on yet another new role as a vampire. It may be his most unusual role yet, and he's already received numerous honors, including a Golden Globe nomination for Best Supporting Actor. And here is a clip from
In this scene, the Count is reading the papers you brought him, and you are about to make a considerable amount of money. No Make-up! Keine Schminke.
Forgive me, Herr Doktor.
Albin, clear the set. Mach das Bild frei. Elke.
I'm pleased to have Willem Dafoe back on this program. Welcome back.
Thanks.
This is the first time you and Malkovich have worked together?
Yes, it is. It is.
About time, huh?
Yeah, I've always admired him. Yeah. And yeah, it was a good time.
Is there something, I mean, when you look at him and think about his work, do you feel some sense of kinship in terms of the way you approach this?
Well, I do, only that there's certain similarities in our background.
Yeah.
We're about the same age. He comes from the Midwest. I come from the Midwest. He's got a long history with the theater company that he created. He continues to work in the theater.
Yeah.
Also, his relationship to Hollywood is, as the world goes, similar to mine. I mean, he mixes Hollywood movies up with independent and European films.
How did this come about for you?
Nick Cage, who was the producer.
Company.
Right, it's his production company, Saturn Films. Just called me up. I knew him from Wild at Heart, and he said, look, I've got this project I'm really excited about, and I think you'd be great to play Shrek. Yeah. And then he described it was, it was a fictional telling of the making of Nosferatu. I, of course, knew the film, and it was exciting.
Instantly, you knew you'd want to do it.
Well, it was. Of course, I said, let me read the script and who's directing and who's involved, all that sort of thing. But what's interesting is usually I like to start from a place of not knowing where I'm going to start. But here was a case where I really knew what my process was going to be, because as soon as I knew we were going to be cross-cutting with the original, I knew that I would start from a place of imitation. Yeah. And I also knew that I'd have to look like Shrek, so I had an idea of what I was going to look like. It was quite extreme. Yeah. I had lots of information, and I was excited to do that. Excited to work with a very extreme style of acting.
When you see something like at the beginning, I mean, you're getting lots of talk about awards and all that kind of stuff, and you've already won some. Do you recognize that in a script that this offers the possibility, not so much award, but to perform with real distinction?
I hope that happens every time, Charlie.
Do you see the potential every time?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I do. I really do.
Because it does depend on script. It does depend on.
Well, the great thing is the bad thing about movies, and it's a convergence of all these different things. They're so collaborative that you really don't know. But I mean, you always hope for the best, and I only get involved in. I'm not a good enough actor to not get involved in something that genuinely interests me.
Yeah.
And so, you don't think of awards so much when you're choosing a project, but you just are clear about what your reasons are for doing it. Because I find that if I'm clear about what my intentions are, then I can live with the result, because I can't control the result.
Yeah. But the reason I ask is I've had good actors say, I don't see that many great roles. They see a lot of roles, but they would say, look, I mean, to have a great role, I mean, people like George C. Scott said, something like Patton as a film doesn't come around every year.
Well, he's probably right. I mean, there are opportunities that are showier than others. There are opportunities that challenge you in different ways. But the process and what the job is has to be redefined each time. So it's all. So I listen to myself, and I'm sounding a little too idealistic, but to be honest with you, each time you don't know what it's going
Exactly,
to be.
yeah.
So it's always an adventure. And so I'm not standing outside of myself saying, oh, this is a special role, or this I can really run with this one.
Right.
You do know how you're going to function in the film. For example, I knew this was going to be a very showy role.
Yeah.
I also knew I was going to be performing with John, and I thought the combination would be very nice. I knew I was comfortable with the period, and I could step out with this other than naturalistic acting style.
Yeah. I see. When I think about you, and I think about John, and I even think about, say, your friend Chris Walken. I mean, if I was a director, I would think of how can I put these three guys, for example, in a film.
Good.
And so I'm surprised. Well, exactly. But or a producer. But I'm
Right.
surprised that you haven't worked together before. I mean, you know, that somehow has never happened in one way or the other.
Well, I think, yeah, I am too. I mean, I've worked with Chris once, I've worked with John once.
Yeah.
I'm surprised I haven't worked with him before, but I suppose if you say there is some sort of affinity there in a world that is created in a film, either one or the other fulfills that function in the film.
Yeah. This is one more scene. I'm going to, this is with Eddie Izzard, where Malkovich directs him in a scene which is actually a clip from the original film. Take a look.
Lest you invoke the creature itself. Very good, Gustav.
Herr Doktor,
Albin?
I am sorry, Herr Doktor, but
Albin!
Ja, Friedrich.
And Albin, a native has wandered into my frame.
Kommen Sie, gute Frau. Kommen Sie.
There you go. Did you experience anything from this that you hadn't experienced before? I mean, anything come out of this that was unique and interesting?
Well, I'm sure many things, but the thing that really comes to mind, of course, is the heavy makeup. The fact that every day I'd be the first one there. I'd be in the makeup chair for 3 hours. Then I'd come out as Shrek.
Right.
I'd do my work, and at the end of the day, everybody would leave, and by the time I got all the makeup
It was an
off,
hour and a half
I went
later.
home. So everybody saw me basically in that makeup all the time. So it was a little bit, the shooting was, reflecting back on the rules of the game in the story.
Anything come out of this experience with Malkovich that you two would say, we got to do this again?
Yeah, it was a good experience. I mean, I'd work with him in a second. Yeah, besides, he's a lot of fun to be around. He's a very charming guy, good storyteller.
I mean, that's one of the things that I had. Sean Penn and I had a conversation recently in which he was talking about that very thing, and the thing he liked about casting in the movie he's directing called The Pledge.
Right.
Nicholson. He said,
Right.
the one thing I enjoy I liked a company of actors, certain actors, and just the sheer joy of being around people because you come together in an environment and you live rather intimately for 3 months or longer.
Right.
And you want to be around people you enjoy that are fun to be around. That
That's
makes
true.
the life much better.
That's true.
The Worcester Playhouse. What's
Yeah.
happening?
Worcester Group, we're working on Phaedra, Racine's Phaedra,
Yeah.
Paul Schmidt translation. And I'm going off to do a movie, and they're working on it now. In fact, I just came from rehearsal, and when I come back, we'll do some showing of it in the spring.
It's the love of your life, isn't it?
That's what I do.
Yeah.
And, I've been doing it for a long time, and talk about getting good people around you. These are people that I really admire, and they're always challenging me, and they always make me laugh, and it's the company that I love to keep. And it's been a very fruitful company to keep, because we've made lots of things that I'm very proud of through the years.
Your wife is involved with you in that?
Right.
Or
She's
you involved with her in that? however you want to
Exactly.
put it.
She was there first. She hired me.
It's great to have a place that if you're an actor, you can come home to. I mean, it gives you a sounding and a base and a place,
Right.
There's always work to be done and come back. You can go off, Willem can go off and make his movies, but he can come back knowing that there's an ongoing
It's true. I mean, it's
theatrical experience to come to.
right, and they've been great about letting me come and go. It's frustrating sometimes because I want to be there all the time. I miss some of the process, so I take myself out of the process. I feel like there are glitches there, but yeah, it's nice to return, and it's nice to go between the two worlds, because the two worlds value different things. So you're always forced to ask yourself why you do what you do, what's attractive in it for you. It keeps you on yourself. It's impossible to get bored.
Yeah. I have a feeling, I don't know whether, I think Marty believes this, and you will know, and I wonder whether you believe it, that the last temptation of Christ will get more appreciated as years go by. I mean, there was some controversy about it when it came out, so therefore it got sort of bounced around and beat up a little bit. But that he thinks so much of it, and I suspect you might too.
For me, it was a very special movie, very good experience, and I like the movie very much. It's gratifying now to see that it is being screened now.
Yeah.
It does show on TV, for example, and people are starting to see it again. So that's great. So when it came out, it was embraced, but the distribution was so limited because of the controversy. So it broke my heart now to see it be seen again without that cloud of controversy around it. People can see it in a more direct, clear way, and hopefully they can enjoy it.
Do you, I know you don't do this, but I'll ask the question anyway, do you put it up at the top of performances?
I don't. I
never
can't.
do.
I can't. You know, one thing leads to the next, and if you have favorites, then you protect them, and you start to protect certain tendencies. I don't know. I really try to avoid to judge what I do. The lessons are learned as you're doing them, and I think they go into your unconscious, and they become habits, and they become technique, and they eventually do find their way out to the surface, but I don't think you have to consciously make those kind of decisions about this is good, this is bad.
The Shadow of Vampires is being shown in theaters now across America. John Malkovich, Willem Dafoe, and others. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.